You're listening to the Millennial Millionaire Through Real Estate podcast, where we discuss tangible tips, tricks, and best practices for becoming financially free. The show is designed for people who want to either start real estate investing or for those who want to scale their real estate business.
What's up, guys? What's going on? Jonathan here. Just had an awesome episode with Zasha. We talked about everything from how to get started with Airbnb to how to overcome any permitting issues if you live in an area that's difficult to get started with. She lives in Hawaii, actually. So we talked about how she's going to think about navigating that, or how you can invest in areas that are completely away from wherever you live. As you can imagine, she's pretty far from everything in Hawaii. But we also deep dive into my story a little bit, how I got started, how I think other people can get started today if they were starting over in the same position. And all in all, it's just a great episode. We've been talking about connecting for a little while, and it finally happened. So if you have any questions about how to get started with Airbnb or any questions on how to get started with real estate investing in general, just drop a comment below. If you are not already, please make sure to like and subscribe on whatever channel you're on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We appreciate it. And also we take your feedback. So if you have any comments or questions, we want to make sure they get addressed. And also, guys, we have some awesome new openings in our mastermind, or the mastermind is awesome, but we have some openings in it, and excited to have some new people come in. We have some new education set up in there, things like how to get started with virtual assistants, how to get started podcasting, step by step, the exact ways that I've done it the last few years. So if you have any questions, just let us know. But without any further ado, hope you enjoy today's little interview with Zasha. It was an awesome one, and I will see you guys soon.
Hello, everyone. Really excited today. We are having jonjfarber on. He is, I've been following him for a long time, so excited to have him on and kind of pick his brain about his journey. And I got my first Airbnb the end of 2021. And so we finally had our first couple months of it being fully rented out. So talk with him and see what he has to say about anything that we can improve on or how to find our next one. Hey, John. Oh, he hopped off. So we'll wait for him to get back on. Technical difficulties. But the reason why I connected with him was because I was just really inspired by his journey, and he had achieved financial freedom really young, at the age of 27. So he was working a corporate job prior to there he is, prior to getting all this together, and also has done house hacking and other different strategies. So I love to talk to other people who have done multiple strategies. Hey, John.
What's up? Nice to meet you officially.
Hey, live. Yes. I've been following you for a while, and I love how you put out so much content and education, and I wanted to connect, do a live, and I just kind of gave our audience a little bit of background on you, that you had achieved financial freedom at the age of 27, left your corporate job, and then you've also done different strategies like house hacking, and then have longer term rentals and short term rentals. So you kind of are well rounded. Plus you have a podcast going on, so you're a pretty busy man.
Virtual assistants make it much easier. I'll say that. But in general, I'm 28 now, but a lot of the stuff I was doing, I kind of looked at like from 22 to 27, a little bit of like short-term sacrifice, but not even really. Like when I think back on it, I didn't feel like it was such a grind, but now I feel like it's a little bit more leveraged, and I can focus a little bit more on the stuff that I like, that I think I'm good at, and the things that I think make the most money, and then hired a couple other people, assistants, executive assistants, stuff like that, that helps make everything run, a little bit better. Like I was just playing golf. As you can see, I'm in my car right now, but I was trying to figure out, the traffic was too bad to go home, so I just jumped back in my car because it was really hot outside. But so yeah, stuff like that. But no, I was checking your story out too. I love your story and your background. I feel like there's so much overlap. But yeah, that's like, I guess how I think about it now. And, that makes it doesn't feel as heavy. Like, not that it ever felt super heavy, but it doesn't feel too like intense right now, because I feel like I've help from people that are good at what they do.
Right. And I think that's the key thing, right? As you learn and you grow, is building on a team, leveraging other people, whether that be actual employees or through partnerships and things like that. Because for me and where I'm at in my journey, I had worked as a civil engineer for 10 years and then started buying rentals, bought some flips, and then started full time in 2020. And now, I mean, I flip project, I have two of my multifamilies, and then I have 10 rent. Got my first short-term rental recently, and so kind of exploring that now, getting into syndications. Where you are, I mean, I currently have it, but I want to get more and be a lot more hands. Kind of it, but then I'm also a mom. I have other responsibilities and other companies that I want to grow as well. So I really connect with you on there. That's one of the key takeaways that I'm going to get to a little bit later. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get into real estate, I guess, so young, or how did you start your journey? I know you said you started at 21. What was that like aha moment get into it that you had?
So, like maybe a lot of your, followers, I was doing the traditional path, or what felt like the traditional path of go to school, get a job, like work your way up, and then the company had a big layoff. The company had its first big layoff ever. It was the first week that I actually got to the company, and like I feel lucky in the sense I didn't get affected by the layoff, but it was really eye opening in the sense of like, wow, this thing that so many of my new friends just moved here for from other side of the country, or people that have had this job for like 20 or 30 years, it just got pulled like that. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. The thing that I thought was so secure is not. So I started thinking, okay, at first I was like, all right, I'm going to buy vending machines and you know, um, like all the little side hustles, like maybe I'll buy a car and drive it on Uber or get a driver, and like all the little things like Rich Dad Poor Dad, the standard stuff. Started with Bigger Pockets, would listen to that every morning to and from work. And ultimately I was like, what's the easiest entry point? Like what is the first step? I'm sure you get asked that question a lot. And for me, it was just like, okay, what is the first step? And if you listen and watch Bigger Pockets enough and see some of the beginner strategies, house hacking just seemed to make a lot of sense. I moved from New York to Raleigh when that job happened and then that layoff happened. So I started with house hacking just because it seemed like it made sense. The houses were more affordable than New York, but even if they weren't, I only started with 5%. So I was saving up. I lived well below my means. Like I didn't live horrible, but again, I had friends, we were 21, 22. They were buying their dream car, their dream house. And I'm like, that seems kind of dumb. Because, like, then you don't have any money to put into stuff that's going to just make money. So I started with house hacking. And then I was like, okay, at minimum, if I don't do anything else, I can work my way up, make more money in my job, but house hack once every year. And then maybe buy one more investment property. And just doing that, for anyone, I think most of your listeners may or, probably know, but by house hacking, you can buy something with such little down money and live for free. And that's a huge step towards financial freedom, guys. If you can get rid of your house and your car payment, you're like 65% of the way to financial freedom. So you're not rich, but you're like way better off than all the other people that aren't doing that. So yeah, that's how I started. I just did that. Like I did it 4 times and then I turned them into rentals, and then I was, trickling in a rental or two on the side. But that's how I was also like very focused on it. I know it's like, and I'm sure you are too. Your brand is awesome, by the way. So it's really cool to see what you're doing. But like I was really focused on it. I was like, this is my goal. This is my project. I'm gonna, if it means I have to stay in a couple extra nights and whatever and go to the office early, like I needed to get that done. It was like my bone to pick. So that was how I started though, house hacking.
Nice. And so, how did you, I guess, pick your first property? I know you wanted to house hack, so it had to be multiple units. Did you pick close to where you lived, or where you went to school, or how did you?
So when I graduated college, I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, and basically I didn't know anyone, but I was like, this is way cheaper than New York. And I say that because a lot of people listening to this, I have a lot of, my audience is a lot of people in New York. They're like, oh, I can't house hack. It's in New York. I'm like, well, move. Like, how badly do you want this? Do you want to be retired at 28 and playing golf every day? Or do you want to work a job you hate? Like, you can't have everything. Something has to give. You either have to have, energy or money or time. Like, something has to give. So, like, yeah, I moved out of the state that I lived in to a more affordable state. And then I could do house hacking in Raleigh and it was affordable. So, I just picked the area I was living in, but I was analyzing like a lot of different areas. But I just saw it in Raleigh at the time, and for sure, still, the numbers worked, and that was the thing. But I always need to like disclaim that because, guys, it's like, how bad do you want it? Like, you can move 30 minutes outside of whatever city you're in right now, and I bet you can make a house hack work, right? Like, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Right. And I mean, I live in Hawaii, so I mean, we can't really drive anywhere, but we can definitely move to other cheaper states, and that goes for investing as well, right? I can't make it work in my market. We'll move to a different market, look elsewhere.
I didn't mean it for you. You're killing it. You're doing exactly what I mean. I love what you're doing. You know what I mean. For the people that are like, more excuses than like reasons. It's like, come on. Everything is figure outable. There's a way.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say too, is that, I mean, for a lot of people, they think, oh, I can't do it because of this. They put their own mental blocks, but it takes sacrifice. And even for us, while we were working, we're looking into other ways to make money. That's a sacrifice of your time and, a lot of nights where you would stay up late and, just sacrificing. There's going to be some sort of sacrifice, like you said, money or time. And even with these I wish that I had learned earlier about like networking and this sort of stuff, because that now has definitely helped me scale a lot more. So even just making connections and surrounding yourself by people that have figured it out and then give you advice, like you just said. If you're living in an expensive market, move. Like there's such barriers to things that we put so much complications and roadblocks in front of.
Totally. I guess just one quick thing. I mean, I love making a little back and forth though too. Like, my answer changes on this, but if you could do anything differently when you were first starting, does anything come to mind? I know what mine is right now, but curious if you would have done anything specifically differently.
I wish I would have learned about private money, I guess, earlier on than trying to like scramble and use, because I was working a good job. So I qualified for conventional financing. I was like buying rentals. I was moving really slow because you could only like do on what I could do. And it was like, okay, I got to buy one project at a time. I complete it, then my next one. So when I started, I only did like one project a year, because that in my mentality all I could handle. But you could do much more than that if you have access to funding. So I started just like Googling, listening to Bigger Pockets, and then jumping on deals when they came, or, getting things off the MLS. So I didn't know about off market things. But I didn't deals per se. Now, I mean, with appreciation, it's gotten better and better. Yeah, that's one thing I wish I would have known. There's other ways to buy properties or buy, real estate than conventional loans.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Mine's similar. Sorry, can you guys? I think you can hear me all right, but someone else said that there might have been like a mute out, but you've been able to hear me, right? I hear you perfectly. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, the thing that I would have done slightly differently now, and again, it's very connected to this, would have been focusing on creating content. I started that. I started the podcast. You probably know, like, the name and probably read the book. But after I started the podcast that I did after reading Joe Fairless's Best Ever Apartment Syndication guide, and like his whole thing was start a podcast so that you could raise money. So it was like my entry point into it. But now, like, we're closing on a 28 unit Friday. It's a JV deal, but it only happened because of social media, and I was only able to raise the money. I raised like $250,000 in 2 days. I just sent out like 3 texts to people that I met through social media. I'm like, hey, there's like 250 left on this. Do you want like a piece of it? They were like, okay, yeah, just send over the agreement. I was like, okay. So like, but it was just because social media gives validation, it gives social like proof, it gives like people get to know you before they actually meet you. So that's, and then there's all the other monetary like things you could do from social media. But that, I think back, I'm like, wow, if I would like, because I'm really good friends with maybe you know Michael Elefante.
Oh yeah.
Like we were friends before social media, and like we started an accountability group. That's why we both started making TikToks, except I didn't take it seriously. We started at the exact same time, but he kept pushing, and then he's like at 800,000, and now you know like sure, like me and you both, but like it was a reminder of like, wow. So now learn from it, be consistent with it. But that was something just like to raise more money or meet new people. It like opened so many doors.
Right. And so for me, my first mentorship I ever was Ryan Pineda's All-Star program. And so in 2019, that's when I joined. The end of 2019 that's when I joined, and he was like, dude, you got to start putting out content. Like you're doing some crazy stuff in a really expensive market, and people got to know, like they would be interested. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, and I come from like a humble background, so it's not like when you say millionaire or like talk about money, it's very like cliche, or people are like hush hush about it. So kind of put us in like help, right? You're like adding more inventory to the market, you're taking a house that's affordable, adding it for another family to live in. So I kind of take that look, try to turn it into something that people can look at as, in a good light, instead of, oh, there's another she's investing and making all this money. But I think that's like a like mindset thing that I had to get over with creating content. Like now it's just like create as much as you can and put it out as much as you can, because the same thing for me, I put like a silly, I don't know, I think it's like what do they call it? Like a lip sync reel about lending. It's super quick. A couple of days ago, and same thing. Like I got, uh, of course, a lot of inquiries, but then a solid 280 that I raised to two
Wow.
people, thousand, another person was 80. And I got to step back and be like, oh my gosh, I live in an expensive market. So even a lot of people here have money, you know what I mean? And they're looking for other ways to spend it, or building rapport. Like you said, I'm showcasing all my deals, making stories of everything I'm doing daily and taking action. That's how I got my biggest private lender, who lends, over 2 million to me, is because
Wow.
he's on Instagram, which
So,
is crazy.
so sick. It's so true. It's awesome. That's amazing.
Like it's kind of like day in the life, and people are curious, right? Like, okay, what is this girl doing? She's a millionaire now. What does that even look like? So I like to even, tell people like, I'm just a regular person. I just took the steps and took, my journey seriously throughout, and listened to people who are smarter than me or ahead of me, or partnered with people. Like that's kind of how I'm being able to scale. Not, I wouldn't say quickly. I feel like your journey was quicker than mine, but definitely making the best use of it. And like us connecting right now, sharing with everybody our thoughts. We're going to get into the Airbnb thing right after this, but I think that's the most that people are curious now, because that's like the hot topic, right? Is short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and people wanting to make like massive amounts of cash flow from one property. So I guess just so that we can segue into that, what did your first short-term rental deal look like?
My first short-term rental deal, I think some people will appreciate this. It was an off-market deal that was in an area that I was like thinking of 3 or 4 areas, but it was in an area I was looking in, and I found these cool like treehouse properties in North Carolina that I hadn't really seen anywhere else. And there was one other. So like what made me like this property in this area? Why was I looking at it? There was one other comp in that development that was killing it. It was the most successful Airbnb I'd ever seen. So I was like, okay, how many are there? Can I send these people letters? Can I go knock on their door? Like, can I have my realtor, network and see if they know anyone there? And ultimately, what I started doing was calling on any listing that came up as a rental. And I would just say, hey, I know you listed it for rent, but I was just interested in this area. Like, I love these properties. I'm kind of a new, up and coming investor. And if you're ever open to it, I would love to, maybe work out terms with you or buy the property from you if you ever would think about that. And that was it. And on the second one that I tried, the guy was like, "Yeah, sure. No one's asked about that." So it was an off-market deal. Felt good about it, but it was right at the beginning of COVID. I had traditional rentals before that. After this one, I started converting some of those to furnished rentals. But that was the first one. It was in North Carolina in a golf area called Pinehurst, and but it was like just a cool area that I had known. It was on my radar, and then when I saw, basically, guys, like there's more detail behind this, but I just look for proof of concept. So I look for other comps that are successful and then see how easy or difficult it would be to replicate that comp. And in this case, it wasn't that difficult, and was able to get it under contract and close it. And then in the first month, it's a small property, but it's pretty cool. It looks like a spaceship, but it's like a one or two bedroom depending on how people want to set it up. And that one property made more than the five other regular rentals I had at the time. And I was like, oh no, four other rentals. So I was like, this is crazy. So that's when I started just getting more interested in it and started converting the other ones and then trying to buy other ones and do creative stuff with that. But that was like the first one and how I found it and then why I got kind of hooked on it. Because at the time I was like, should I do wholesaling or syndicating or get my license? But I just kind of fell into it that way. And then, I just was more interested also because it took care of a lot of the headaches that I didn't like about regular landlording when I was self-managing. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I bought that one in December, which is here on Maui. And same thing. The cash flow is like just as much as my bills all put together. So I'm like, this is definitely the route I want to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it here because we've been recently having a lot of regulations and taxes. Like I pay probably like 18% in just transient taxes and GE taxes here on the gross income. So
Yeah.
I can time if that raises, it'll be a big chunk. So now I'm kind of looking in other areas to the Smoky Mountains or Joshua Tree. I don't know. Everybody's everywhere right now, so it's hard to say. But I'm still doing long-term stuff, and I think you're right in a sense that you just got to find something and replicate it. Like for that, it's a studio, but for it to be the net income is just as much as whatever I had prior to that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And, that's a question that I get a lot. And I think about it too. Like, when I first got into this, I'm not someone that was like obsessed and naturally woke up and thinking, I love Airbnbs and furnished rentals. It was just what can make the most money at the time. And that could change. For now, there's still, I think, more like runway with it, more money to make. I think it's still a really underrated like market or pivot would be extended furnished rentals. Like, that pretty much gets you, past any regulation. But there's a huge need right now for furnished rentals with, all the digital nomads and work from home people that were created by COVID. So we've converted units to that and they've done really well. And they make, five times more than what it would as a traditional rental, but it's just furnished. And now, it's through the platforms. Sometimes we go off platform, but yeah, I mean, it is interesting when you think about it. Like, where's the opportunity? And yeah, I mean, extended stay I think is really good too.
So what markets are your Airbnbs in right now?
Right now, actually, this is a whole other separate conversation. Maybe like when's the time to sell? But I sold 3 properties in the last 6 months. So now I'm in 2 markets. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Pinehurst, North Carolina. But I was in Asheville and I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and also I was looking at a deal at the beach in North Carolina, but now just Raleigh and Pinehurst.
Nice. And so what tips would you give somebody who already, okay, I decided on a market. I want to invest, I want to buy a short-term rental in Maui, starts looking at deals, gets a deal, and decides to self-manage? Because I know you said you have your virtual kind of assistant team. Can you just give a summary on, I guess, what you did to build your virtual assistant team and then what exactly they do?
So first off, I think everyone should experiment with a virtual assistant. And this, I'll just also say, like, it's people that are negative against it. I just would recommend to look into it more to see like what it's all about, because really you're giving people that are looking for jobs and an awesome opportunity. A lot of people are like, oh, you're underpaying these people. If you look closely at it, they're making more than doctors and lawyers, and they can work from home. They don't have to commute hours, and they can be with their family. So anyway, I would recommend, if anyone has that feeling, to just look into it more. And I would challenge anyone listening to this to hire your first VA this week. Go on either Upwork or onlinejobs.ph and just come up with a test project. If anyone also DMs me, we have some templates. So if you just DM me like VA template or yeah, that would be a good one. We have some templates that we could send to anyone watching right now. But basically, like, they can do anything. They can analyze deals. They can analyze markets. They can manage properties. Like, they're not these illiterate, unsophisticated people that you might think. It's very, I would say, naive to think that if they're not living in the U.S., that they can't, function like a high level smart person. So they can do anything: guest messaging, like I said, analyzing, calling, texting, stuff like that. So um, we right now have like two main VAs that'll just help with day-to-day messaging, or looking into things, just speaking with vendors or speaking with cleaners. And I still make the decisions of, like, pricing, or I'll oversee it, pricing and like calendar management, or if there's like a weird inquiry that comes in, or there's a major problem, which is pretty rare. But that's how. But yeah, everything else can be, if you can find, if you just, I would tell anyone, just go on onlinejobs.ph. I'm not an affiliate for them. I don't make anything from that. But just spend 30 minutes like YouTubing and just making an account on that site, and just try one project. You might be so surprised what you can offload in your life, and you'll make more money and you'll be happier. Like, it's just kind of a no-brainer.
Right. And so that's the thing. I already for over a year now. That has been my struggle, is like the who not how, right? The hiring somebody just to get all of my thoughts out of my brain onto, because right now I'm like this. I write down everything on a notebook that I carry with me, on envelopes, whatever I get to. And I just recently trusted someone enough to like, go through my handwritten envelope notes and little pieces of paper. Can you just help me put this all into a system like Asana or something, so that I can actually hand it off to a VA? Because there might be other people out there experiencing this as well, is they don't know what to give the VA. So I think it's smart with you, instead of thinking like, okay, I got to get all this stuff prepared for them, just start with a small project. It doesn't have to be you're hiring them for life. It can be just something, as far as, okay, research this market. I want to look for an Airbnb. These are my parameters. Let me know what you find by the end of the day, or something, right?
So let's talk about it. Like, I would love you to have like steps after this call to do it. Like, because for example, I also take a lot of notes, and I realized at the end of the week, I hated organizing them. So now with my new assistant, basically, she has an iPhone, and we have a shared Apple Note that any time I just have a thought, I just put it in that, and then she turns it into an actionable. She'll put it in Notion. She'll either like knock it out right there. She'll comment back on it. But at least, I just made a YouTube video actually about this. I think it'll be out like next week, where it talks about like GTD, getting things done, David Allen's book. And like such a big part of that is capture. Like, I don't want to lose ideas, but I also like, sometimes I'm driving and I'll have an idea, or I'm playing golf and I just don't know where to put it. So I just put it in that. She can now action that. She can put it in a to-do list. She can add it to our like property, our course, like whatever. So that's one that you definitely might want to consider, just so that, or it's like you could just take a picture of your notes. And I know it's a little more work for them, but like for now, like just you have better things to focus on, like raising money, networking, looking for deals. And, they love details. Like, that's the other big thing that I had to get my head around with this. We could talk about privacy in a sec also, because that's something I have a lot of opinions on. But like, I also, the big learning for me was I thought everyone just enjoyed the same activities. These VAs would be, like crying if they had to do an Instagram live right now. They hate it. They just don't want to do that. They don't want to talk in front of people. Like they like detail, some of them. So we've matching, opposing skill sets. Like they like detail. They like accounting. They like bookkeeping. They like, transcribing. It's just they like following steps. So that was a big thing too, that I was like, oh, you guys don't hate doing this? Like you enjoy this? I hate doing this. This feels like the worst thing ever for me. So that could be like an easy one just for like getting emails off your plate and getting notes off your plate. Like not checking email ever is the biggest life hack. Like or like yeah, so those could be two, email and notes and maybe calendar management. That's like enough there for someone to like jump in for maybe like $400 or $500 a month and just manage that full time for you.
No, I like that because I did start to share notes with another partner, and I found that helpful. But with the virtual assistant I'm with now, she's like, "Oh, let's start like getting used to Asana, putting it in." So the past couple of days, I've been like, "Okay, I'll put it in," and then I don't know. I think I'll do better if I try the notes thing with her.
Yeah. I mean, it's also baby steps too, but
Okay.
like um yeah, I mean, I'm in a CEO group right now that I actually really highly recommend, and I'm not an affiliate for it either, but I've been getting so much value out of it. It's called the 20-Hour CEO by Christine Carrillo. I could send it to you, but
Yeah.
she's grown two companies to like 200 million, or no, four companies 200 million, and she's got basically only virtual assistants that run them from the Philippines, not even U.S. based. And she's I don't know what tools you use. We're big Notion users, so we use Notion for everything. Um, and basically, it's just like she's helped me too because I'm a little bit of like, well, I could probably do this. She's like, no, don't do it. Like, give it to them. If they don't like doing it, they're not the right person for the job. Like, you can find the right person that can do that thing, and that really helped me too. She's like, also, you need to have a shorter tolerance because I'm also a little bit of like, I give people a lot of chances, and I'm not, I don't enjoy firing people, but she's pretty tough, and she's definitely helping me realize like, no, like if it's the beginning and someone's like not getting it done, just improve your hiring process, not your enabling process. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. She's like, you can't be scared to fire people because you hate the process of bringing on a new person. She's like, just improve your onboard process and your interview process and fire fast. I was like, okay, that's great. Like that's not my mindset though, but she's not like a evil person, but she's like, this is just what we're here for, and you can find a better pair. So stuff like that really helps me.
Yeah, I'm still finding getting used to because I'm in a few different I guess groups and things like that, and so they're using Slack, Asana. I am like I don't know if I'm technology illiterate because I like it is just like so much notifications and discords and all this kind of stuff. So I think up to just having them kind of weed through, having another assistant go through it so that I'm like, okay, what is important? What do I need to address? Because trying to keep up with everything is going to definitely lead to burnout. But
Yeah, we're gonna start using a new tool for email. It's called Missive, and I
mhm,
think that'll be the last step to completely remove myself from email. Of having four different email domains, it can be very hectic.
mhm.
Um, so that's the tool that Christine uses, and she says she's used tons of different ones. So we're gonna give that one a try. It's pretty cool. We just like did a team demo on it. But yeah, it's like I'm just obsessed with asking the question. And I wonder how you think about this too. And I'm just like, what is the best use of my time? How does this company, these processes make more money, and how do I be happier? And like, the more money I make and the happier I am, the more money and happier that hopefully the people I work with are. So it's like it's self fulfilling. But I just never looked at it that way.
And I've heard that from a lot of successful people is that their time is kind of better spent thinking big picture, thinking of new ideas, brainstorming. And if you're doing all this like nitty gritty work, right, you're just concentrated on the day to day, then you could be scaling or growing much quicker if you had that all off your plate. So that's something that I definitely came to realize and now am in the process of. So I would definitely be hitting you up for that VA template and that CEO, the 20-hour CEO thing. I have a few notes about today. So thank you I want to be respectful of your time too. So maybe what's the best way to reach out to you, or do you have any sort of meetups coming up or courses that if people wanted to know more about what you do, that they
Totally. And I'll definitely ask you the same. If anyone is interested in getting into Airbnb, we do have a mastermind. Um, it is centered on getting your first deal in 90 days or less. So much so that if you don't get a deal in 90 days, you get your money back. So, pretty straightforward. Like
ah,
it's, all inclusive, every template, every video, everything that we've kind of like scripted over the years, automations, things like that. So if you're interested in that, just DM me the word fast track, one or two words, it doesn't matter, and we can jump on a call, or I could send you just information on it. And then if anyone is looking for just like kind of a starter kit, maybe just getting a little more like footing, basic information, we have a 6-video series, a 6-video playlist on YouTube, which just basically outlines, your first 6 steps to take in detail on how to get an Airbnb, step by step. But no, other than that, shoot me a DM. We kind of get back to people. We answer every message. And yeah, just like I'm glad you were like not pushing me, but like I sucked with like scheduling this. So like one, thank you, and this was so fun. But no, that's me. What about you? What for my side? What's the best way for people to connect, learn more? Any products? Any stuff like that you got going on?
I definitely need an accountability partner as far as TikTok and all the other social platforms. So I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to, like you and Michael, right? You guys started the accountability. I'm trying to start it with somebody else because I see so much value in it. But Instagram definitely right now is my main platform. Message me. I'm pretty quick to get back to people and has been my focus because I think, like me and you both said, like you get deals, you can get money from people, and I feel like Instagram is not really more of a professional. I like TikTok too, but I feel like you can make a stronger connection with people who are more serious about investing, or working with you, or dealing with you in some sort of capacity, bringing you opportunities that are more legitimate, other than the fake scammers out there creating profiles. But
What?
the best way to get a hold of me, and I'm getting into syndications right now, so my next step will be to build out a platform to bring on more limited partners on our deals, and I will definitely be keeping people updated on here about that. But
Cool. Let
yeah.
me know. Also, I love now. I'm like investing in more deals as an LP. So if you have a deal, let me know. I would love to check it out and see if we could collab, or if I could ever help raise money or anything like that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much in making some time on your golf day, which is probably every day, but
No, I'm glad we met. I'm really glad we met. I'll shoot you a message after this, but this was really fun, and I'm glad we finally got introduced and got on the calendar. So this was great.
okay, thank you, everybody.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.